Hello everyone, my name is Maylena and this is
Jordan.
And we are the board certified BAes.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Today we have a friend. Everyone, this is Ruby. Say hi, Ruby.
Hi, friends.
We are so excited to have Ruby on. She is one of our good friends that does so much good in this community. And so we are excited to hear all from her today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course. So, we're gonna, as usual, well, actually, before we get started, fun question. Let's see. What is your spirit animal?
Ooh. Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. I will have to say, I would say a unicorn, because sometimes I feel a little majestic, but I'm not very graceful, so But okay, for now we'll just stick with a unicorn.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Mythical creatures count too.
Yeah.
We will take
yeah,
that. We will take it.
You know?
I love that. Okay, wonderful.
Spreading magic.
Right, exactly. That's what she does. Okay, Jordan, if you want to jump right in with the questions, you can go ahead.
So, I guess before we even dive into the questions, can you share just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a mom to two boys on the spectrum, Andy and Aiden. They're very, very special to me. I think that if I didn't have these two boys, I wouldn't have the guts to do all the things that, we're all doing together, not just myself, but we're all doing it together. And I think the best way I can say it is I've also done things that I thought I would never do. I mean, I've gone to so many concerts, done adventurous things, conquered some of my fear of heights, but, I love them to death, love my husband to death. Work, everyday mom. I'm out here with all the moms in the trenches trying to get dinner on the table. But I do like to surround myself with friends and family that just have the biggest hearts, and honestly, how much more could my life be perfect with just all you amazing people by my side? So I do that, and then I also have a nonprofit called Andy and Aiden Safety Group, and we are 501c3, and we work with law enforcement agencies to bring safety events for special needs kids. And for fun, I like to sometimes watch Netflix series, but not finish them. That makes sense.
No, I get that actually.
Yeah,
I enjoy watching a half episode.
I feel like I like it until it gets to the stressful part, and I'm like, I think I'm done.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, I feel like it's like, oh, this is too okay, I'm gonna watch something else.
Yeah, next. I love that.
I also feel like that's a little bit of a trend in our house now.
Yeah, I mean,
start it, you circle back maybe a year or two later.
Yeah, maybe I'll finish it. I mean, but don't ask me what happens on episode 3, because I probably didn't get that far.
Actually, I hear that.
Yeah, I feel that. And I think Melina does too, because she'll probably fall asleep.
Yeah, that's another thing, is finding the time to stay up. I mean, you need caffeine, so do you want to drink a coffee at 5 a.m. to finish that at 1 or 2 episode or something? But I mean, you can cheat the system by watching TikToks, and someone's gonna give it away.
Doom scrolling.
Yeah, doom scrolling. Yeah, someone's bound to kill it for you. So
there you go.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm
Well,
not mad about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Save me some time.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right, well, then let's dive into some questions now. You mentioned Andy and Aiden, and that they're both on the spectrum. So what was it like navigating their diagnosis process and, having to figure it out?
It's definitely is a process. I will have to say, but 2 different processes. The reason I say that is because we have 2 individuals with 2 different needs. Even though they're both on the spectrum, it doesn't mean that they both need the same amount of support. It's different for both. So it was a different experience for both kiddos. When Andy was 18 months, he had mobility skills, he had language too. And, just like overnight, it was like all those things were kind of, I guess, pulled from underneath him. And I just didn't know what this meant. So we took him to the pediatrician, and they recommended him to go through the evaluation process. And still unclear, we're just like, what is going on, and like, what does this evaluation mean, and what is the end result? We weren't really sure either. Then the word autism got thrown in, and that was kind of like, okay, so he might be on the spectrum. He wasn't evaluated at the time, but we're going through the process. And once I remember the day he got his autism diagnosis. I remember the one thing that'll always stick in me, in my brain, and I always tell parents, when you see the early signs, you have to get the evaluation. It's so crucial. And the neurologist that gave us the diagnosis gave us, at the time, this was like 2014, I don't really know how the technology was back then, but she wrote us paperwork, and it had the autism diagnosis. And her words were, "This is your golden ticket to getting support." And so when she said that, it just kind of instilled in my brain. Because with that, I didn't know that you could get extra support from regional center or behavioral therapy and speech and OT and all these things. I didn't know that was like the key to getting the support that your child needs. So, once Andy started going through behavioral therapy, OT and speech, it took a while, but he started, doing the things that doctors said that he wouldn't do. He wouldn't ride a bike. He knows how to ride a bike. Wouldn't speak. He's speaking all the time, by the way. He's a teenager, just nonstop. I know. I love it, but I'm enjoying the time and the ride with him. But it's very true with the diagnosis. It's really your ticket to getting the things to support your child. I think one of the things we have to remember, though, as parents, is our children are not going to look the same, and it's not because they're on the spectrum. It's just all the kiddos are different, whether you're on the spectrum or not. We're not all the same, and we can't expect the same from them either, or think of it as just an unfortunate event. It's really not. It's really I think what I've learned from autism, it's helped me open my eyes to seeing life in a different way. Like, why does it have to be this way? Why can't it be the way Andy sees it? Mm-hmm. It's not wrong. So I think it's made me feel more compassionate, and everything that I've ever known in life, I've literally had a light bulb and thought, like, well, is everything really the way it's supposed to be? Maybe we're wrong, I don't know. So I think if anything, it's nurtured my soul and my brain, and made me really evaluate things that, like, why does he have to do this? Because everybody else does it. He doesn't have to do that. That's his choice. That's like giving me a choice. Do you want this or do you want that? I'm getting those options, but I don't want someone to force me to make that decision. Right. So same thing with him. And then when Aiden was born, I think his signs were definitely a lot more obvious. And I think maybe in the aspect because we already went through it with Andy. But I think for a while too, just being candid, I think we were also in denial because we thought, oh boy, we're seeing clear signs. And I think we were just not, I don't know, like, it's just a weird feeling I can't put it into words, but, kind of, not in the sense of like not accepting it, but just like, oh my gosh, like, mm-hmm. It's just so hard to get out into words, but, luckily we had a really supportive behavioral therapist who was very caring. She was, servicing Andy, and she came up to me and talked to her supervisor and said, I think we need to find a supportive way to talk to mom and dad about Aiden now, because we see the signs. And literally, that behavioral therapist actually went with us to the day we got Aiden diagnosed as well. And I feel like it's never something you are, even though we saw the signs, I felt like with Aiden, it was still as shocking as it was with Andy, I think I will have to say. But, you know, we, luckily with our golden ticket for Aiden, we were already ready to go to work. You know, at least we had that for us. Now things look different because Aiden is more severe on the spectrum, still nonverbal to this day, and still struggles with his motor skills and hitting some milestones. But I think that also understanding that Aiden is really like the glue that holds our family together with his smile and his, like, I could have the worst day ever, and if my kid walks in and he's smiling, I'm just like, oh, that makes my day. And I always tell Aiden all the time, like, if the world could see you smile all the time, it feels good. And I've even heard people tell me before, they're like, I feel like when Aiden, because Aiden also has epilepsy, and so when he was going through that, he wouldn't smile as often when he had really bad seizures. It was like he shut down. And people would say, I feel like the world is more dim when Aiden is not smiling. And I'm like, you know, I feel that way. I strongly believe that way. That's why I think it's important to accept the way our kids they are, understand that they're not perfect, we're not perfect, and we're going to mess up in life together, but if we stay together, I mean, we get to do it again tomorrow. That's all I have to say. So all we can do is support them, support one another. As parents, I find it super important that we're all going through the same journey, and we have to stick together because it could get to be a very lonely road. So I would never wish any parent to go through that. It really breaks my soul to think that there are parents going through this now by themselves and not understanding, like, there's a whole village behind you, and you just sometimes have to find your village or create your own village. So you know, I think the best advice is just look for the signs. It's okay to be scared all the time. I'm scared all the time because I don't know what the future holds. All I can say is we have to try our best now in order to set them up for success in the future. So that means we all have to work hard together. We all have to stick together. And then, I mean, ride it till the wheels fall off. What are we gonna do?
I just want to say that, like, I respect you so much, first of all. But also, like, I feel like, I don't know how long we've all known each other. I'm getting emotional already. It's only been like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh. But we also basically kind of started, like, our things at the same time. And so I will say, like, within all those years that we've known you, there's only been one time that I can really think of where I'm like, I could see that you were actually, like, tired. Like, you do so well with, like, carrying it all, but pouring into people all the time. So, like, to hear, like, oh my gosh, like, I knew that obviously, like, you're going through things, all, you know, you're navigating being a parent, but the way that you come beside parents and support them is, like, beautiful. So thank you for all that you do, because, like, again, just hearing, you know, like, you're doing your own things as well and pouring into your own family as well, but you're also showing up in the community day after day. And so thank you, Ruby, for all that you do. So yeah, it's just, yeah, thank you.
I love you. I love you both.
We love you too.
We love you.
The whole podcast. We're gonna say we love you.
Let me tell you, you guys do just such as you guys show up just as much as I show up. And I will have to say it's been a blessing to meet you guys. And when you say Halloween, I'm like, I don't know how long.
Right? I'm like 20. I mean, I think it.
Wait.
2021.
Sometimes like COVID era.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole era because it's just 2 years, but like, you know, somewhere around.
It feels
that
like
point?
longer than that, but I feel like it's also because we're all doing things together.
We just see each other all the time.
Yeah, all
so
the
it's
time, and we're always, you know.
one long year.
Yeah.
What is time?
Right.
Yeah.
What is time?
Right.
Oh.
Forky asked the question.
Yes.
What is time?
Exactly. Okay, so kind of jumping back into the questions, I hear you kind of say, you kind of touched on the earlier signs that you kind of noticed with both of your boys. I think you kind of hit more so your older son and how it was kind of like regression. With your second, can you kind of touch on maybe some things that were the signs that you were like, oh, okay, we should probably, do that assessment and see what's going on? Because I think a lot of the times parents, again, every kid is different, just like you said. But I think sometimes parents find it helpful to kind of be like, okay, I'm concerned about this thing, but it's kind of helpful to hear somebody else, I don't know, just experience, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like, what were the signs that you saw with your second that you thought, like, okay, let's go ahead and get him assessed?
I think, honestly, the one thing I noticed right away was his delay in his milestones. Now, again, understanding that every child is different and hits milestones at their own pace. I think what I started noticing was drastic milestones not being met. Like, Aiden didn't start walking until he was almost 2. And I felt that, that wasn't like the biggest sign, but I felt that all like the crawling, he wasn't doing it at the age I felt like he should have been doing that. And then also his eye contact was never there. And we had a lot of playtime as a baby, and his focus was great as a baby, but then I started noticing through the toddler phase, his attention span was not there, and he couldn't even hold a spoon at the baby spoons at the time. Everything was just, I noticed a lot of sensory eating where he would just grab and squish. And so I was like, okay, that's another sign. But then I noticed that every once in a while he would stem, but it would be like a quick stem, so I wouldn't catch it all the time. It just does this, like he'd grab things and just juggle them. And he kind of does that now as well, but I think with all of those things, and then also noticing the constant meltdowns, I think all the clear signs were there. They were all present, and so definitely when we were approached to talk about Aiden by our behavioral team, I do think that we were like, okay, it's time, So I think we did see the clearer signs with Aiden. Aiden's were definitely a lot more obvious, but then also because, we had gone through it with Andy and our mentalities really just shifted into everybody's different. Everybody works in different ways. Everyone's going to hit a milestone. There's things that some of us can do and some of us can't do. And so our mentality was kind of shifted that way, but I also feel like the amount of feeling all the things coming our way and like feeling overwhelmed, I think also all those things kind of got in the way as well, just being completely transparent. I think we were under a lot of stress at the time as well, like dealing with all the behavioral therapy, the insurances, with all the, ABA, and navigating the early start program and all those things. But I think with all of that said, I think Aiden's were definitely a lot more obvious. I just don't want to also promote and say, hey, if your kid's not hitting the milestone, then time to react right away. We don't want to be reactive, but I do think that we need to pay closer attention when milestones aren't being hit, and just watch them and get advice and just kind of make mental notes, take little notes here, like kiddo did this on this day, and kind of watch for it. But I think with Aiden's, they were definitely a lot more obvious for sure.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I think you hit something that was really important, because I you know, I don't know if it's like the season that we're in, you know, we have young kids, so our community around us, a lot of them have similar age kids. But I do have parents that I know are like, well, I'm worried about this and I'm worried about this. And I'm like, you know, they're like Googling things. I'm like, talk to your pediatrician. Always, when you're concerned, talk to your pediatrician. That's a great way to like just start, you know, keeping yourself like, okay, just keep track of it. Because even if it's not a thing, just bringing it to your pediatrician's attention can be more helpful than hurtful. So
yeah, I think, you know, a couple of things that you've said so far that really stuck out as like the golden ticket, like that being something that sticks in your head, right? As well as like time, right? Like as parents, we think, you know, the world of our children, which is rightfully so. We're their parents. We want everything for them. But that also adds a cloud cover at times of like, I'm not going to acknowledge this part because I can see all this other good stuff, right? But then you talk about the golden ticket, and it's like, well, yeah, like if we start earlier, you know, it can change a whole lot at the end, and you touched on that, right? And so, you know, I've talked to families, and they'll go to the pediatrician appointments. There's a reason there's appointments at 3, 6, 9, 12, and then at like months, right? Just to help with those things. And the systems have gotten a lot better at registering, you know, or recognizing some of those milestones not being hit on a more frequent basis. But they'll go to those meetings and all those appointments, and they'll say, yeah, I just told them everything was good. But I was like, but you mentioned, you know,
right,
it wasn't good. So like, why change that? And that's, you know, it's not somebody it's a sibling, so it's not somebody that I service, but I just like out of curiosity, like why? But I'm not providing advice, not anything like that. Won't cross any of our ethics lines. But it makes you wonder, like, okay, if we do have this cloud cover of wanting to see good, you know, are there any tips that you might have that can help parents to be able to see through that? Because sometimes, you know, we're clouded by what we actually want to see.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, I know that was a long rant, but it was kind of
no,
like,
makes
does that make
sense.
sense?
No, I think you hit it right on the money, to be honest with you. I will have to say, number one with parents is stay off of Google. Google
Don't do
it. Google is to give you directions to your house and a good coffee in restaurant. Or yes, do not Google. Stay off of Google. I will say, have candid conversations with your pediatrician. If it seems, you know, I think as parents we are definitely like overthinkers, and you know, I think like the one thing is, if you see it, like if it's worth you seeing it and then remembering it and you can't get out of your head, I think you owe it to yourself to ask. Just ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't mean anything. It's not opening up the doors for anything. I think just having a clear conversation with your pediatrician and then kind of getting their feedback and seeing what options you have, because it could just be, I mean, it can be anything. Kids go through phases, and again, some of them just hit milestones at different times in their lives, and they'll eventually get there. But I think you're right. Talking to your pediatrician is a good way to get it out of your brain. Mm-hmm. And if it's something that's like really eating you at night, a lot of the medical offices offer like the client portals where you can just message your pediatrician. I say do it. Just get it out, type that message away, just like we're typing a text message, type it in your pediatrician's note, send it, let them look at it, and then provide a response. So I think that if it's worth remembering it in your brain, I think it's worth for you to get some feedback from the experts and not any other sources. You know, I mean, it's great to lean on sources.
TikTok.
Yeah, not TikTok. Stay away from TikTok. Absolutely. But you know, I think you owe it to yourself to get the answers that you need by asking the professionals.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure that, you know, out of all this, if we touch one person that listens and like wants to think, that's how we view every episode that we do. If we can help one person, that's so meaningful for us. Yeah,
no, I think these are great, you know, conversations to have, they have to be candid, and we have to know, like, we're not perfect, we're gonna make mistakes. And we're just trying to be the best parents that we can be, and that's gonna look different in every way. I mean, you know, your parenting skills might be different from my parenting, and that's okay. Our kids are happy. That's the end result, and everyone is happy. Everyone's doing great, but sometimes we have to ask the difficult questions and know that, you know, it may not be what we want to hear, but they have to have, it's good to have them out in the open. And, you know, also my biggest advice to parents is don't be scared to have those conversations. You know what I mean?
It's a big one.
You have to have them. You definitely do, because you'll feel better understanding that there is more parents out there that have that same internal problem. So it's better to just get it out, and there's nothing to hide.
That's great. Thank you. So, you know, you mentioned like the hard questions, and I know we're about to wrap up this episode. But if you were to look back, what is something that you wish you would have known or even done differently, like given all that you know now?
I think for sure, the Ruby now versus the Ruby then is, I wish I could have maybe told her that it's not so scary, but it's so weird to say that, because it is scary because you don't know what you're doing at that time. But just kind of, you know, I will have to say that there was a lot of nights that were spent crying, and because just out of fear. But I think the biggest thing I would have done back then was already put on my big girl pants at that time, because I think my kid needed me, and I let the A word, you know, kind of take over my life. I think, to be quite honest with you, it really did. And so understanding that it's gonna get better, and just don't, I think my biggest fear also was, I'm scared that someone was gonna judge my kid, or I was gonna hurt my kid. And then at some point in my life with both boys, I decided, you know what, we're just gonna live our lives. Like, whatever happens, happens. We're gonna make a lot of mistakes, but we're gonna learn about our mistakes. And if people wanna watch and stare at us, by all means. We're gonna live our lives unapologetically. That's it. We're gonna be out there. I mean, in order for people to really get us, we have to be out there. But I think I sheltered them as kids so long because I was like mama bear wanting to protect her cubs. So I would say I would not want to, we could have lived it a little bit harder back then too if I wasn't so overly protective. But I think also just the Ruby now wishing that she wasn't as scared, you know, like, hey, the crying is not going to help. It's just going to keep you up more at night. And your kiddo needs the better version of you every single day. Not even your kiddo, too, your family, you know, and your peers and your friends and your spouse. It's, you know, it really does take a toll. And so I really wish, you know, that younger Ruby would just been like, you know what, we just got to figure it out at that point. But you'll live and you'll learn for sure. And it makes us definitely stronger, you know. I can definitely say that I love my family with all my heart and would, you know, do anything for them to always be happy. And, you know, the relationship with my husband is like a million times like stronger because we both were in the trenches together.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's so good. And thank you for sharing that, because I feel like throughout this episode there are so many things that you've said that are going to be able to help so many people.
I hope, you know, I hope we do. Even with, like, you know, with our events, if we always say one family shows up, that's one family that we serviced. So hopefully someone can take this away, and you guys are doing great by putting this out there and having these conversations with these parents, because hopefully someone's gonna take a look at this and realize, like, she's right, crying is not gonna do anything. We gotta figure it out. But it's okay to cry sometimes.
I was like,
it is. Don't hold everything in. It is okay.
Yeah.
And then figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Ruby, for this, because this will wrap up. I think that's a good spot for us to wrap up the first one. And we'll be back.
Yes.
Bye.